Everyone, Bitcoin is $93,000 per coin as I record this, just about half of 1% below its all-time high, which probably means it will hit its all-time high either in the next hour or two or later today, or who knows, could pull back. We don't know. But someone asked me, should they buy Bitcoin on Coinbase or buy one of the Bitcoin ETFs, such as the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, which the ticker symbol is IBIT, or the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF with the ticker symbol FBTC. So, short answer is one, if you can, Bitcoin directly on Coinbase, I always recommend that. That is the most powerful, most direct way of buying Bitcoin. Now, if all you care about is the economics of Bitcoin, meaning you want the economic upside of owning Bitcoin, you absolutely can get that with the Bitcoin ETFs. They will give you the absolute same economics. What they don't do is give you the actual experience of the technology. And it really, really, really helps to have the actual experience of the technology. So, for example, if you own one of the Bitcoin ETFs, the only thing you can do with that is buy it or sell it. You can buy it or sell it, and the money in US dollars goes back into your account to buy something else. You don't have any way of transferring that Bitcoin ETF to someone else. You can't send it to a Christian missionary on the other side of the world who needs financial resources. You can't convert it into some other asset other than US dollars. It's very limited, and you can only do those things 19% of the time. So the United States stock market is only open 19% of the time, which means 81% of the time you might want to transfer value in the world. You can't because the stock market's closed. And if you want to buy more over the weekend, you can't because the stock market's closed. And if you want to sell and get some liquidity over the weekend or on a holiday, you can't because the stock market's closed. You just can't do any of the incredible 24/7 awesome stuff that Bitcoin can do with complete global liquidity. You can trade Bitcoin for any currency anywhere in the world 24/7. You can't do that with a Bitcoin ETF. You can send Bitcoin to anyone in the world 24/7. You can't do that with a Bitcoin ETF. You can self-custody Bitcoin, meaning you can hold it with something like the BitKey, BITKEY. The website is bitkey.world. That's BITKEY.WORLD. You can actually self-custody your Bitcoin, which means nobody in the entire world can stop you from transacting Bitcoin, can freeze your account, can seize your assets, unless they seize you. Like, that's not true with a Bitcoin ETF. With a Bitcoin ETF, you could log into your account any day and find out that your assets are frozen for some reason. Maybe you got added to a terrorist watch list by accident. Maybe somebody's messing with you. Who knows? But Bitcoin's not that way. With actual real Bitcoin, especially on self custody like BitKey, you can transact with absolutely anyone in the world, anytime, day or night, 24/7, and absolutely nobody in the world can stop you. And you just don't get that with the Bitcoin ETF. So it's the equivalent. I've been trying to think of a good analogy, and I have not been able to think of one. But it's the equivalent of buying stock in Edison Electric versus electrifying your house. Like the experience of electricity, where you can actually turn light switches on and off, is a big deal. Getting the actual benefits of electricity, as opposed to just owning stock in the electric company, even if they somehow gave you the exact same financial benefits, experiencing the actual power of electricity and the way it can transform things in your life is a big deal. Same with transportation. Owning a vehicle and understanding the benefits of transportation is just different than owning stock in a car company, even if somehow the economic benefits of those two things happen to be exactly identical to you. Same with publishing content on the internet or sending an email or any of these things. If there was a way to own a share of stock in the activity versus experience the incredible power of the activity yourself, it's just a lot more powerful to experience Bitcoin in all of its incredible glory, which you can by buying it on Coinbase. And especially if you self-custody it with BitKey, you get to experience all of that power of being your own bank yourself. Now, again, the Bitcoin ETFs economically will give you the same economic upside, but you just don't experience that power in the palm of your hand. It's not, you don't experience that. In addition, with Bitcoin, for example, on Coinbase, you can use the Coinbase debit card to actually buy stuff with Bitcoin. Anytime, anywhere in the world, you can buy anything you want with Bitcoin, anywhere that accepts Visa, MasterCard, Apple Pay, Google Pay, contactless payments, or any mobile app that allows you to link it to a debit card. So you can buy Bitcoin with literally anything anywhere in the world 24/7 all the time. And again, you can't do that with a Bitcoin ETF. With an ETF, all you can do is that you can exchange US dollars to get the Bitcoin ETF. And then at some future date, you can exchange it back to get US dollars, hopefully more US dollars, as compared to however much uh, you had originally. So again, the economics are the same. It's just very different owning the real power of the real technology in the palm of your hands 24/7. So if you can buy the real thing, buy it on Coinbase, get the real thing. If you can't, for example, it's locked up in a retirement account and you're going to have to jump through a bunch of hoops, then sure, the Bitcoin ETF is great. For example, the entire 11 years of 401k that I earned and matched and all of that at Baumgar Corporation between 2003 and 2014, that entire 11 years, I converted to a Bitcoin ETF, FBTC, the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF. I converted that about 3 or 4 months ago at a price of 57,300. So obviously at 93,000 a coin, we are way above 57,300, and I could jump through a bunch of hoops to self custody that in an IRA. I converted the 401k to an self directed IRA, which is literally like 2 clicks. It's like extremely simple. And it helped that it was already a Fidelity 401k. So converting it over to a Fidelity IRA that I could put in FBTC, the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF, literally was like 2 clicks. It was super, super easy. I have that in a Bitcoin ETF. Now, I could jump through a bunch of hoops and create a bunch of headaches for myself and convert that over into Bitcoin that I hold in self custody. But I just don't think the US government's going to come take everybody's IRAs and 401ks away. I just don't see that happening. So, for now, maybe one day I'll jump through the hoops and do it. But right now, I've determined that the risk reward and the headache versus payoff of converting my old 401k, which is now an IRA, converting that into Bitcoin I hold in custody myself. I just determined right now that it is not worth the trouble, which means I own, a fair amount of the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF, FBTC. But again, I hold it because it's in a retirement account, because the retirement account is not as simple as just pushing a button on Coinbase. But that is the only Bitcoin ETF that I own, the Fidelity FBTC, and the only money that's in that, as opposed to direct Bitcoin ownership, is just retirement money. That's pain, and it's pain to do a different way, and it's tax advantaged, and it's all that sort of stuff. That again, I could get the tax advantage and move it into self custody. I just got to jump through hoops at somewhere like Unchained Capital, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to set up more hardware wallets. Seed phrases. I've got way too much of that all over the place now. Just with different stuff I've experimented with before BitKey came out. So just I don't want to deal with that right now. And so anyway, the Bitcoin ETFs have their place for a lot of people. Coinbase, even though it's super simple, if you don't want to deal with that, and you have a retirement account and you just want to call your financial advisor and say, put me in Bitcoin, then yeah, the Bitcoin ETFs are magically awesome for that. And they're super simple and they're super straightforward. But again, you're just not experiencing the raw power and incredibleness of Bitcoin, where you can transact 24/7 with anyone, anywhere in the world, in any currency. You can transmit value, you can convert, you can use the Coinbase debit card to spend Bitcoin. It's just not the same. Again, it's like buying a share of an internet company stock as opposed to using the internet yourself, assuming for some reason that the economics were the same. If the economics were the same and somebody's like, no, I totally get the internet. I've never used it, but I own internet stocks, I would say, yeah, you really ought to get on the internet. Like, there's some really cool stuff you can do on the internet. Even if you get the same economics by just owning the NASDAQ, I would say you really ought to experience the internet yourself. It's pretty amazing. So that's the same way I feel about direct ownership of Bitcoin is, yes, the Bitcoin ETFs give you the same economic upside, but no, they do not give you the incredible experience of being on the very front lines of a brand new monetary revolution where the world slowly and then suddenly moves from fiat currencies, meaning currencies that are made up out of thin air by the government, by fiat, by dictate, like the US dollar, that's not backed by anything. As the world moves from that to an entirely new monetary system built on Bitcoin, you can be on the front lines of that and experience it firsthand in the palm of your hand, front lines by buying it on Coinbase, especially if you self custody with something like BitKey. But even owning it on Coinbase lets you transact 24/7 and send it to anyone anywhere in the world and all of that, which again, you just can't do with the Bitcoin ETF. So, in summary, Bitcoin ETFs, yes, they do give you the same economics as direct ownership of Bitcoin, but no, they do not allow you to experience being on the front lines of the new monetary revolution that is sweeping the planet right now, that you are still very early to, because 95% of Americans still don't own any Bitcoin. So, and, same was true for companies, and no countries that have their own central banks own Bitcoin in their treasury. So, like, you can front run all of that. You can be on the front lines of all of the exciting stuff happening in the world of Bitcoin by buying Bitcoin right now. And again, if you have the ability, I would buy it on Coinbase. If you don't, then the Bitcoin ETFs is a great alternative if direct ownership is just not an option for you. So hopefully we'll hit a new all-time high. Later today, we're at $93,000 per coin as I record this, but I don't know. Maybe we hit an all-time high in the time it's taken me to record this video. I don't know. My watch says we're at 93,300. So I don't know. Maybe we bumped an all-time high while I recorded this video. But not too late to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. It's still the best investment in the world, and there's still a huge amount of headroom between now and $1 million a coin, which I am certain it will eventually hit. It might take it 5 or 10 years, but you can still 10x your money buying as much Bitcoin as you possibly can, and just sitting on it for 5 years or 7 years or however long it takes. Might be a lot faster. So join the monetary revolution, and have a great day, everyone. Thanks.